Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wild Woman Podcast. I'm delighted to have another lovely guest here with me today. Her name is Irina Cholak, and I've come to know Irina as a yoga teacher, and I'm really excited to learn more about her travels and wisdom from her time in India. I've spent some time there myself, and just what yoga has brought to her life and to the life of others. I found Irina's class about a year ago, and what really struck me was not just going through the physical practice of yoga, but everything else that she brought to the class and the students and continues to. And I always come away feeling much more enriched and that I've learned something about myself and about life and community. It's just been such a powerful experience that ended up on my doorstep. And I had been searching high and low for yoga classes around me, and I ended up finding one just across the road. So it was all meant to be, as it always is. So welcome, Irina. I'm really delighted to have you here today.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. My pleasure to be here and greeting to everyone who is listening to us today.
Yeah, yeah. It's lovely to have the opportunity to have a conversation outside of the yoga class as well. Even though I know we've often talked for quite a while um, on many topics. So, can we just start maybe talking a little bit about you as a child and growing up and how you started on this path of self-discovery?
Um, I'm from the Ukraine, and Ukraine was a part of Soviet Union, and we didn't have much spirituality and religion. So it was all hidden and not very much explained. So when when I was growing, when I was child, I actually remember interesting um, scenes that come to my mind that I actually was very connected with everything around me. I used to talk to the trees, to the sky. Even I was an elevator. I was always saying thank you for elevator to take me up and down. So I was really, and I loved animals. I still do. And yeah, this kind of connection with the world I always felt inside. And and I was always curious about God, but not in the very beginning, not when I was a child. When I was a teenager and a little bit more in my younger years, then that what is this God about and the churches and everything. And after 20 years old, when I turned 20 years old, something around that age, maybe a little earlier, but um, I started attending different churches just to see where the truth is, like in the search of certain understanding what it is all about. It was, I think it was like kind of calling from inside. And this is actually, I think this is what brought me to India later. This calling was not fulfilled, not answered. And yeah, the journey went further.
Yeah, and it's just interesting you say as a child, a lot of people I've spoken to, and it's sort of woken it up in me as well, this memory, which I'd forgotten as a child, of feeling connected to everything. It literally, I feel I obviously, for many reasons in life and the way we have to live, we shut a lot of these things down to sort of survive. And it's been so beautiful just to listen to you. And recently, a lot of the women saying, as a child, I've felt so connected to nature, to animals. Do you feel that's my sense? That's a very natural state. That is our natural state. And we sort of move away from it. And then the calling at some point comes to find it. But it sounds like you never lost it. Was this just something within you that you felt?
Yeah, yeah, it was something within me because, like I said, there was no much religion around,
Mm.
and people would rarely go to church. Actually, everything started this kind of tradition to go to church when the Soviet Union collapsed. Before that, yeah, there were churches, of course, but I was not in that environment where people would, celebrate and take and everything. But yeah, these things that we are connected to outside world in such a pure way from the heart and the childhood, and then we get distracted by many things. We get disconnected, and then I guess for those who are coming back again, they are maybe they're thinking that they're discovering more about themselves, but that actually brings them towards everything around as well. It's not only about you when you're discovering, but knowing of you is also invites this experience back and connection to outside world, and then again this communication happens. And yeah, it's just natural. I think it's natural because when you are seeking with a pure heart, with pure intention, then those doors start opening naturally. You don't need to do anything and ask anyone. It just shows up.
Yeah, yeah. I found that also in the last few years when I've sort of shifted. I was sort of probably forced to shift from trying to control and manage life and keep, and understandably, we all do that for different reasons because of different things maybe that happen to us, and life can be challenging. But to sort of, yeah, it was through illness for me to let that sort of drop. Something has to, would you say, I sort of talk about it like surrender or a letting go. Something had to happen within me where I realized I couldn't control everything, and it all became too much. And that ended up being the greatest gift, even though I fought it for a long time. I really resisted it because I was afraid and I didn't know what would happen. So, did you have an experience? Something happened that sort of said, okay, I have to now let go, or was it always there? It seems like this was sort of always part of your life from a young age.
I think this is my conclusion that I came that when we are true to ourselves, when we taken the decision with the truthfulness from the heart, that then it leads you to certain happy experiences. And in those areas of life that you were not true enough to yourself, so that eventually leads you to some, problems, some
Mm.
where you're stuck and when you're not happy. So yeah, so these area they're like kind of showing you that you took the wrong direction. But yeah, so it's a journey where you um like for me, I always felt like I am free to do what I want. And yeah, and I think that was a great blessing for
Mm.
me because I I didn't have to push myself to do something that I don't want to do and to become something else. That I always choose the way, and this freedom is very, very important. It's still very important inside of me. And I think that companion helped me to be more happy in my life. And but yeah, but for people who actually took the wrong path and who took the wrong path because of the fear of something, that they fear they would lose something, would not gain something, then you're becoming further, further from yourself. And this is actually what my teacher in India taught us, that he said that these two greatest barriers from taking us away from ourselves is the sense of fear and the sense of guilt. So these two senses of fear and guilt, they're destroying us from inside. And Yeah, so in one way, I was free and more connected to myself. But of course, there were times where I took the wrong decisions, where I felt um, like I'm not happy at that moment. And the search for returning back was this truthfulness, that you have to follow.
Mm.
And like you said, you have to surrender. And this is a nice word for me because when I went to India first time, uh, I was in search for God and wisdom, and I was talking, and I was whoever met, I was asking these questions: where can I find it, and what would you suggest me, and what type of practices, books, whatever you can suggest. And one of the men, he was also a spiritual man, but also I think he was somewhere in college, some kind of professor, but like both spiritual and intellectually knowledgeable person. So he said to me, surrender. And he said, you have to surrender. And I remember this word very strongly. And I think I came to India was somewhere at the end of first time at the end of January, and I met that man somewhere in February. And when he invited me to visit his college and I came to his office, he gave me a card and it says Happy New Year. Happy New Year means like you're starting something new from that point. And he, yeah, this is he emphasized that you have to surrender, you have to. And for me it was easy because I felt like this is what I really want. I want to surrender. I want to be free from everything that I was thinking that it's mine or for me or my path. And time to time, actually, I return to that state that I'm thinking, okay, I built up this image of my life and image of myself, but it's always good to inquire again and to to take it as a fresh and to it's like a checkup point where is it still true for you? Is it still because it's very I think it's very helpful to be flexible in those moments, not to be rigid that you something decided 10 years ago and you stick in and the life has changed and everything is it, but you still look in different directions. So I think yeah, when you're surrendering, then you are adjusting yourself to this flow.
Mm. And do you feel just when you say that, yeah, I really feel that's been the shift. It still is. I can still go back that we're sort of in society, and there's nothing wrong with goals and plans, and they're all well and good, like you said, but this idea of the 10-year plan and the 5-year and sort of rigidly sticking to it. But I'm finding now what works best for me, I'm not always successful at it, is when it's nearly like a surrendering in every moment, isn't it? It comes to that. It's not just a surrendering to just this experience has happened, but it's like, you know, the way I try and feel it more in my body that something happens in a particular moment in the day. And if I start to feel very tight and and uncomfortable, my instinct, and I had this experience very recently, so it's very fresh. It happens all the time. So my mind got involved and tried to justify and this big, but I was feeling really, really uncomfortable. And as soon as I sort of just I knew this was a pattern that I've had throughout my life. And I said, no, just trust what your body is telling you, because this is your compass. And I did in that moment, I did make a different decision than I maybe would have. And instantly, and it doesn't mean that there weren't consequences that I had to have a conversation or whatever. My whole body just it sort of went expansive, like it just felt open. And like you say, that sort of truth, that following that truth, to me, that's one of the greatest gifts we have in our lives, isn't it? When you start to work with it and understand it.
Mm.
How is that for you, or how do you, particularly because you're a yoga instructor, obviously, but that's been such a revelation to me in recent years. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I used to, and actually I still do. But I used to write every day the goals of my life and the wishes of my life. And it was very clearly seen how they were transforming over the time. That something that for you was a goal and you thought that that would make me happy, then over the years it just becomes something else that is more important than that obviously makes me happy. So it's, I think, and I still do it, not every day, but time to time, regularly. I just write what is important for me, where I'm heading, what are my purposes, and always updating myself, always like trying to not even to think what I wrote before and what I was focusing before, but right now at this moment what is manifesting from inside. And it's just like an inquiring again without any memory, without any dogmas and like believe that okay, this I have to, because we're getting a lot of information and different people share their different experiences and you're thinking, oh my god, this is really, I forgot about it. And sometimes it really resonates with you and helps you to go further, but sometimes it's actually take you away from you. So you always have to ask yourself whatever it is, because your experience is the most important and your heart will always know. And sometimes even the goal that you're going to, and you sometimes push and people around you say to get your goal you have to be strong, you have to put so much power and years and go ahead and this and that. But sometimes when you understand that that is my not my goal anymore and you just let it go and you just leave it, and sometimes, not sometimes, but the time comes, the certain things that you feel so much lighter after that. And you were like, oh, no, this is not my goal. It was like, phew, it's good that that I finally let it go, that I released it. And it's like a bag you were having and thinking that I must do, I can do it. Like I'm a strong woman, but then you let it go and you think, oh my God, I'm so much lighter and happier without that I don't need to carry it anymore.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know, don't you not, until you have let it go, because a lot of times I just thought that was the experience of life, just feeling that way. But it's actually isn't. It's sort of, I just keep feeling it's returning to that state. That's why I'm always interested in, I always think if you're lost, and I know it's to listen to your heart and everything, is often if you trace back to what you naturally were drawn to as a child will give you clues to your life. Maybe interests you had or things you were drawn to if you were bored or upset, or like where did you go? What were there particular things for you that you sort of, you said animals, I know, but are there clues now when you look back to the life you're living now?
Um, this is actually very interesting because right now, whatever opportunities are coming, and I'm very creative. I have lots of ideas all the time.
I know.
And
Every time I meet you, she's off.
something new is going on. Yeah,
She's
yeah,
really living in the moment.
yeah, yeah. But um, and I was very emotional and uh, impulsive all my life. So now I'm trying to take a gap between jumping into something new, and I'm stopping myself and I'm asking, even though it excites me, even though it feels like it's right for me, but still I'm asking myself that how much I want to have it in my life, because I don't want to be absolutely absorbed by one project and lose something very important for me that is also my passion. So in this case I'm just trying to balance in my life my interests and leave this space for the nice flow, not to be bondaged by my own ideas and by my own passions, because sometimes these passions starting to control us. And I've been there and I know what it is. And you're taking so much responsibilities that you don't belong to yourself anymore. And again, you start losing the energy and you're thinking that, okay, I'm serving the people, I'm doing that, and that, but everything has to be balanced. And this is what I found for myself. In whatever area you are, no matter how good it is, it could over the time it could turn against it, and you're thinking that you're running towards the happiness, the light, the God, whatever, and then you find out that you're actually running the opposite way. So, yeah, so not to be trapped in that, you always need to check how much time that you are devoting to particular, and not even about time, it's just your energy. Do I have, this energy that every day that I'm waking up from the bed, and from that moment I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to start doing that. So if you're fulfilled with that energy, if it gives you enough, then I think it's fine. But if you feel that you're doing, but somewhere the energy is leaking, that means that you probably took too much, you loaded your car, and somewhere this fuel is leaking. So you need to check up, and maybe it's very actually hard to drop something, because your mind, since you gave the task to your mind, it starts working even without you. You are not even in control. Your mind is like separate entity that is running that project, and it's very hard for you, even that you press that stop
Who's
gear
in the driving seat?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's the engine is still, no, 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 we already decided it. So it's very hard to say no, and you really, really have to train yourself. And this is actually what stays in my mind lately, maybe for the past year. And it's a quote from Tao Te Ching uh, philosophy. Uh, Practice undoing. And this practice undoing may seem like, oh, practice undoing, what it is it about laziness? But no, it's uh I was um I was in one community with a businessman, and they were saying that those people who earn a lot of money, you can say millionaires, they say no most of the time. Very rarely they say yes. So they know what to choose because there are so many offers. And we are in the position that it seems like everything is excited and you say yes to this, yes to that, yes to that, but it drains you. So not to be drained out, you need you need to have this checkup points, like I said, either every day or every week, to ask yourself what you want. Is it make you happy? Are you there? Or if you are losing energy, why you losing energy? Because of what? And learn to say no to certain things, yeah, and stop somewhere, and not to, or maybe not to rush, or maybe just distribute, just collect people around you who are also interested, and to share certain things that should be shared, and yeah, have partners of the project, or leave that project for later, yeah, something like that.
That's really interesting. I think a lot of people struggle with this sort of balancing of the incoming of energy and outgoing. I've had that a lot of my life. I think many of us, if we're brought up, I think we often suffer from lack of maybe self-worth or worthiness, or are we good enough? So this sort of effort to keep doing. And then even when we move beyond that and maybe are living more from our heart and are true to ourselves as opposed to what the outside world is looking for, there comes, as you said, where you start to feel connected to, and you're connected to everything. There can be another layer of sort of, oh, then I want to save all the world and repel everybody else. And then you're in another, you can still end up in the same pattern, can't you? Again. So how has yoga helped you? Just to go back to you said you went to India first when you were 20. So you
No, no, no,
obviously, no,
not 20. No, no, no. Later on.
later. Okay.
Yeah, later. At my in my late 30s. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what led, and that was that the start of the path of yoga for you, would you say, when you went to India and that
Yeah,
person?
yeah. hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
When I took that decision to go, it was actually also hard decision because people they don't know much about India and they're trying to stop you and saying, "Don't go there. It's too dangerous. Why don't you just go to some nice vacation, in some countries that are that are
Why
more
there? Yeah, it was a big.
civilized?" Yeah.
What called you to India? Why was it India that you picked?
Uh, I think India called me and I felt like there is something there for me in this ancient wisdom that I'm missing to find in my country. And um yeah, it was I would say that it was a search of the wisdom of the divine, of God. And I was thinking about it, but not really planning anything. But then it just happened, some coincidences and events in my life uh that pushed me to make that decision. And actually, it was an interesting story that I was invited to India wedding, and I got the tickets and everything. I was planning it,
To a
and
wedding, is it?
to a wedding, yeah.
Mm.
And my mom said, "Oh, don't go. What if they kill you there? You don't even know where you're going." And my friend said, "Oh, there is no even the Ukrainian phone number that you can support you, that you can call us, and that you can get lost and you wouldn't be able to connect, and the embassy will not even know where you are." So they put so much stress on me that I came to airport and I felt like I'm drained. I don't have energy to fly. So I checked in and then again I asked to take my bags and I came back.
Wow. Oh my
And
God.
yeah, I lost my tickets and everything. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and after that I was thinking that, was it a call, that something important that I missed, or was it right or wrong decision? And then after some times I thought, unless I go there, I will never find out. And after a few years after that, I finally made a decision that I have to go, and that's it. No matter what, I will go. And I was searching for the company, but for some reason I ended up just traveling solo. And it was the most beautiful experience. It was just unbelievable. I think it just because I didn't expect anything, and I was so open to see the wisdom, the beauty, the knowledge, the divine, that it came to me. Like
Mm.
without judging how good it is, how bad it is. Just like I remember my state. I was running business at the time, but I just left everything behind. I gave people their responsibilities to run it, and I went, and I just was like a child inside. I was so like thirsty for anything that the universe
Well, it
sends
sounds
me.
like you're back to the child again that you were,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
out, you
yeah.
know, thirsty for this. It's like you nearly were born with this going, this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thirst for, I suppose, self-discovery is the word. And how did that then unfold? Did you stay there for very long? Did you choose then to start the yoga training, or how did that all happen after?
Uh, so yeah, so I made a decision that I will go to India. I will spend there some time, and then after that, I will take a rest in Thailand as a vacation, because I was thinking that India is going to be something like a task I have to go through, and then I would rest. in 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 uh, in Thailand. But and yeah, and I wanted to do it for 2 months because I was thinking that 2 months will make change in my thinking pattern, because this is what they said. They said that if you want to change your habits, you have to imply those habits like 2 months to root it in your consciousness. So I was thinking that I need time, and I was traveling, I think, about 2 months, but the journey was just taking me by itself. I did not have any plans. I did not book any hotels, any transport, anything. I just came, and the push for that actually journey was a traveler. He's from India, and there is still this community of traveling who are exchanges their houses. I forgot the name of it, but I will recall it later.
Mm.
And couch surfers, yes, couch
Oh,
surfers.
yes, I've
Yeah,
heard of them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and he had a Ukrainian wife, so he invited me to stay in their house, and then when I came, he introduced me to his family and friends, and I went to his family in Agra, and that family introduced me to their friends. So I was just was passing from one family to another. And with some people, I connected so strongly that I really, really feel that they are my family, because we keep in touch. And whenever I have time, I go to visit them, and I really care about them, and they're also sincerely, want to know about how my life going. So it's yeah, it feels like I was India in my previous life, and I just came
Yeah,
home.
yeah. That's what it sounds like when you
Yeah.
say it. I mean, was that even the experience when you stepped off the plane? Like, did you feel, oh,
I I not really, because again, I still had a little bit of those fears left, towards like, oh, there is a danger and I have to be careful.
mm,
But mm, but so in the very beginning, I was still like a little tensed. And the further I go, the more people I met, it made me more relaxed. And then, then you observing people, and then you see they're just like kids. They're so curious about you also. Like a white woman is coming by herself, and they all want to take a picture with you. They're all interested. What do you do? How much you earn? What is your family doing? And they're asking all these kinds of questions. Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
it's more.
remember, well, I traveled sort of differently because I was with work and it was very safe and protected. So we were a little bit sheltered maybe from the realities of, it's challenging if you haven't been to India. You're seeing a lot of poverty and a lot of,
Yeah,
extremes, and yet there's such beauty in the people. This is what really
yeah.
blew me away, despite how little many of them have materially, they've just this beauty shining from them. Did you feel that the people you were meeting all had a very sort of strong spiritual connection, or how would you describe what you met?
Yeah, not really. I think they
Mm,
were just very sincerely
mm,
interested in me, who I am, and for them it's very unusual when the woman is traveling by herself. And for me also, I just was, just was curious about them also. So these invitations to be and stay with the family was unique experience for me. And yeah, and I was so open, and I was so sincere communicating with them, and they were also sincere. So that created that easiness inside. And
mm,
then I think that's where the love starts. When you finding out about things, then you're starting fall in love. And this is what actually a lot of people who I take to India nowadays, they are saying exactly the same thing. They are saying, oh, I would never expect those people to be so pure, so sincere, so open, and we impose that Indians are like this, Indians like that. But when we meet them, we just see how simple life they have and how happy they are, and that brings like different insights, like that happiness could be much simpler that we are imposed. And this is actually what another thing that takes us away from ourselves, that the family, the society impose something on you, the beliefs about yourself or the belief about other people that distorts the picture about the world and about yourself. And then you don't see it clearly anymore. You don't have this true understanding and you believe in something else. And that belief is actually makes you feel heavy and tense inside, that something is not right, but you still believe it because it's already there. So that's why it's very good to surrender and let things go and to re-estimate as if you never thought, never seen those things, never knew about it. Just take a fresh new look at yourself, just like a child. Take a fresh new look at people around you. And only then you can find this truthfulness and sincerity, because that immediately reflects with other people. When you're sincere, when you're true, then it just it just can't trick other people. It just automatically starts this how to say, yeah, like electricity that starts something exactly the same.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can feel it as you're saying it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's when I sort of just, the way I sort of feel it now is like you're meeting. I said this to a previous woman I interviewed because I felt it when I read her writing, that the place that she had sort of connected within herself, her heart, and if we connect sort of with our own heart, that's where we meet each other. That's our common
Yeah.
place we come from. It's just a feeling. And like you said, there's no pretense. There's no, like, you see beyond all of that. We're brought into the more feeling state where the mind, this always interests me, that, like, exactly like you said, like there's so many layers, it feels, that are put on us as we grow up, for various, culturally, educationally, our family, our everything, in different ways for each of us. And it's nearly the job to sort of, like you said, you're nearly like you're cleaning the window every day. It sounds like you're describing, going, okay, whatever I picked up yesterday, just clean it all off and fresh out again. Is that
Yeah.
sort of how you try to
Mm. Yeah,
live your
yeah.
life?
No, like you're sorting out your papers. So I don't need these papers anymore. I don't need this. Okay, I can keep these for a while, but then after some time I
Yeah,
can revise them. Yeah.
yeah. And how do you, and even through yoga, how do you do that, or how do you help yourself do that, Irina? Because many people can say, yeah, I sort of get that, but it can be difficult because I've been so sort of programmed, or my mind doesn't stop worrying. And so what would you say to someone listening? How do you help cultivate that sense in yourself?
I guess if we are talking about yoga, that yoga helps to look at yourself from outside as an observer, especially when you are practicing meditation. That is the main actually purpose of the meditation, that you train yourself not to connect and not to identify with your brain and with your thoughts and with your emotions, but you train your consciousness, activate this awareness that you can actually observe yourself and not to engage in all these processes of thinking and all these sensations that you feel and feelings that come on the surface. And then again, oh, I'm so happy or I'm so unhappy. So just to be equanimous and just to look at it and just to stay in that. So create that gap when you actually dissolve your identity, and that just peace and quietness, and you just stay in that quietness, and that helps you to, just to make an order in your inner temple, just to clean it up and to look at yourself from you know like objectively. And that actually changed my life when I went for the 10-day course of vipassana meditation, the silent meditation.
Mm.
And that happened on my very first trip, and I never practiced meditation before that. I was not a yoga practitioner in the sense of yoga poses, and I didn't have this open legs and habit to sit still.
Wow.
But like I said, I was running business at the time, and I was very my mind was restless with all these phone calls and tasks to do and this and that. And then when they told me that, I was inquiring about every technique that would give me, some understanding of something different, like different experience, spiritual experience. And a friend of mine suggested me that, and I said, "Oh no, no, 10 days, I can't do it. It's too long, and the schedule is too tight and strict, and I didn't meditate." And I said, "I want something like guided meditation, visualization." I said, "Okay, just go and do whatever you want, but make sure that you do this one because this is from Buddha. It's very um, authentic." So I thought about it and I said, "Okay, didn't I want to be just without anything, without devices, without, like tasks and involvement and these things? Didn't I want some just time for myself?" And I said, "Okay, let me again surrender and not to have any dogmas that will hold me because that time I decided it has to be visualized. It has to be with dances and drums and I'm just joking, but something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I said, okay, I'll take it. I'll just surrender. I'll give everything away, and I'll do what they say. And this was actually the most powerful thing that I did in my life because I didn't have much knowledge about it. I didn't have much expectation. Maybe if I read about it and I was, one review would be like, "Oh, it's awesome. It's going to do this and that." And I would be, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." And expecting something that would already, spoiled it. Or maybe if somebody was saying that, "Oh, people are going crazy and doing that, it could actually twist your mind." And I would be also scared, tense, and so, no, 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 this instruction I will not follow because blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know anything. So that's why it was very fresh, very, very powerful. And I was so sincere just doing what they were told us to do that after that, it really, really brought an amazing, amazing experience. Just even doing that, just even within these 10 days. And after these 10 days, I looked back at my life and those character that I was before, I probably maybe even 50% I said that it doesn't belong to me anymore. I don't want to go back to that anymore. I just want to keep certain things and expand those certain things. But the last 50%, um, no, they don't resonate with me anymore.
And was it, you think that, was that the first, so that was the first experience you had of going into that silence where, I mean, the only, it's quite different, but what I can say is going through the experience of cancer brought me into a very silent space for a long time where my mind wasn't working and my body wasn't. So it's the only way I can sort of relate because it feels like that was the experience I had. Everything fell away and I was just sort of, and what happened was this whole other person. I could look back, like you said, and it's not like in a bad way going, that was an awful person. It was just like I don't identify with most of that anymore. And I sort of feel it was like a rebirth or like how would you, again, if someone hasn't experienced, I always find it quite hard to talk about, because often people say, but what do you, like, what did you mean, like, what did you, was it something you thought, or what happened? And it's sort of quite hard. All I can feel is like going into that stillness, that connection to everything, to everything that is, like that sort of, whatever words you want to put on it. How do you describe it, for people who've maybe never had that experience?
I think you after this gap that you gave yourself not to be identified with anything, and this rest to your mind that you gave, then you becoming more sensitive and more aware of the inner processes that are going on, because for these 10 days you're actually learning not to involve in these processes. So they're still there. I'm not saying that they're gone from the very first day.
Mm-hmm.
No, they might be with you for all 10 days, but what you're learning is just not to identify, not to involve, just observe. Even these, it's like, it's like being very sincere, very true, but also being very brave to face them and not to start feeling either guilty or stressed out or anything, but just stay there, just observe your just physical state, your breath, your sensations, and just just see how the nature works inside of you, what's the processes are interconnected inside, that the thought comes and that it creates certain sensation and feeling, and then you involve with that feeling, and that feeling goes through the whole body. And if you're staying with that feeling and entertaining with the thoughts, it just starts disturbing you more and more. And if you just see that, okay, the mind works this way, this is the process, this is the nature of the mind to come to the certain memories, and this is the nature of your body to come with a sensation as a reaction to that memory, then you just stay and just breathe and just feel that, okay, there's a breath, there are sensations inside, that you can feel this movement of air inside, but those things are kind of like a screen that are like they're happening, uh you can say, outside of you, because you can actually ask yourself, who is this thinking, because you didn't choose to think that thought, that it just came. And even asking that question, who is thinking, it's already creates certain, pause inside. So you're staying in that pose maybe for fraction of a second, and maybe then 1 second, and then maybe 2 3 seconds, and this is how you work for these 10 days. I'm not giving you instructions, because
I know.
I'm not even trying to give you instructions,
Mm,
because there is only certain way that only instructions could be given. So I'm just trying to give some idea
mm,
to people how
mm.
it works, but it would be personal experience of everyone who is doing that, and you should never listen to anyone who's giving you instructions,
Mm.
because unless you go and take these instructions from the proper person who is actually authorized to give you instruction, then you can experience by your own. But I'm just trying to explain, to give you maybe just a little inspiration to go somewhere, that maybe some people say, oh, don't do that, or maybe you think, oh, I don't have time for that. And I was thinking, this is the most important time of my life, there is nothing more important. And I thought that actually it just transforms your life in such a way that this experience is becoming so important that the rest of your life is changing. And then you're thinking, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I gave myself this chance, and I took these 10 days. And these 10 days, who knows, maybe they will extend my life, and certainly it has they have improved my life. So yeah, it just but I'm not saying that everybody has to go and do particular this
Mm,
meditation,
mm.
whatever, wherever
Yes.
life brings you.
Yeah.
But maybe some people who are listening and they say, "Oh, I've heard about that meditation,"
Mm.
so maybe they, for them
Yeah.
it will be a little trigger that okay,
Yeah.
I've heard about it before. Now hearing maybe there is some omens.
Do you see like that separation of the mind or the ego mind and say, let's say the higher mind?
Well, in ancient scripts, they actually learned so much about our nature and about our mind and all these energies that we consist from. It's just amazing how they dissect every layer of us, and it's just unbelievable how they have
Mm,
that knowledge. And they also describe mind in very different layers, what the mind, like different aspect of mind is responsible for. So I'm not saying that the mind is your enemy or something that doesn't belong to you, but like I said, everything has to be in balance. If you know and if you learn about your physical nature, and if you are actually feel that you know yourself a little bit more as an identity, as a character, then it makes sense. And it's very important. What I think is to balance that with your spiritual part, because you don't have to call it spiritual actually if you don't believe in those things, but it could be called your yeah, maybe your consciousness, this part of your mind that functions subconsciously, that makes you take certain decisions, and that guides you to where you're not even aware where it takes you, but what is actually the root of your desires and the root of your decisions. So to go deeper and to explore that, you need that silence, you need that space, and you need that time to yourself. It's very easy for people, and I think we're all spoiled with all these uh, the technical progress we have, all these devices that we just dial it YouTube or Google it, and then immediately you get answer, and then okay, I understand everything. And this was my son sometimes tells me, okay, I don't need anything, I know everything. So we we uh we want this magic pill and to get answers right away and without giving it a time. We all say, oh, I don't have time for that. And I think it's like stealing something very important that is actually coming towards you through even the knowledge that it exists. And to, again, this is again a trigger, like to say no to things that are luring you, and to say yes to those things that seems challenging. It's also like uh yeah, it's like very brave step. You need to overcome all those doubts and fears inside of you to say, yes, I want to give it a time. I want to understand myself, and I want to experience what has been left for the centuries, from these people who experienced it, and many people benefited from it, and many people also experienced. It's not just like only one person learned it and said, okay, I know what it is, but you can't experience, but I can tell you about it. No, this kind of different story. So if they say that you can't experience, only I can experience, but I can teach you, it's not it's not the authentic knowledge. But if they say you can experience it too, and I can teach you, and there is a certain technique that you can take and you can give it a time, and that if you're brave enough, if you feel that you want to learn something, it's not everything that you know, it's not the whole part of your life. There is another part of your life that is very important, and before you finish your life, you want to explore another part. And so then you go there, and then you take time, and then you give it a time, and then something very, very beautiful and interesting comes out. And I think it's very important to mention that a lot of those times that we feel pain, we feel maybe troubles and stuckness and heaviness in life. And we think that, oh my God, why it happened? And again, people are very happy to take instant decisions to escape it, to go to substitute it with something, but just not to look at that side because it's so painful. But that pain and that maybe just unhappiness, it doesn't have to be pain, but just unhappiness, just feeling that there is no energy, there is no happiness. So there's something that could be for you just as a torch to to find the light that will bring you to where you have never been, but you have never thought about it and you have never experienced that. That could be a big motivation. And that is actually is I don't know, maybe most of the time, maybe 99%, when the people are coming from the unfulfilled desires on wishes or pain or troubles to the point where they see that I had my life, but that's not all about it. It's not what is life about. There is something more about this life. And then I've been searching here and there. I didn't find it. But now I know that there is something else. Why don't I try that? Why don't I go that? I didn't believe that. And you can still not believe it. Just try it and just to find out what it is. There is nothing. And I think that again, when you come into certain techniques and everything, and if they say you must believe it, you must do, you must be like this and that, you have to change something and you have to stick it. So this is also a little bit not right. But if they give you the choice, if they say to you, you can do whatever you want, which is offering you something, even most of the time it's for free. This vipassana is for free. At the end, if you want to be grateful and to give the chance to other people to experience the same thing, then you contribute just out of your compassion, out of your gratitude. So if
Mm.
you find in something like that and you saying yes to it, then definitely, without no doubts, that you will discover behind the pain there is something that was waiting for, that was calling you through that pain. And I've heard many times from people who were having absolutely terrible, drastic experiences in their life that they're grateful to their experience. You would never believe when they say, I'm grateful to this disease, or I'm grateful that I lost my eye or my leg or part of my body just because it brought me there. Otherwise, I would be completely, totally living in darkness. And, and yeah, and you can just understand that even alcoholics, when they come to the very bottom, they say, I don't want that anymore. And they started coming up out of that just because they know that this doesn't lead anywhere. So don't wait until you go to the very bottom. It's good to
Sometimes,
to
yeah.
listen.
I'm really glad. Thank you for saying that, because I was actually going to ask you, because it is something I think many of us, yes, maybe we are open to going and, want to learn more about life and ourselves, but often the pain, or just when we touch into it, I've had this many times, and you touch on this pain, and each time it can be it's physically painful. But the biggest lesson I have learned is, like everything, it's all energy and it wants to move. And the more that I stay in this story about it, and it's not judging it, it's just I find myself stuck in it. And I think that's when we really suffer. And the other side of pain, and yes, we all have very different experiences. So it's very hard to, I wouldn't comment on anyone else's. I can only comment on my own. But anyone I've met, and people who have been through what you would imagine are just unimaginable experiences, are often the ones who talk about the gifts greater than someone maybe who has appeared to experience less. pain, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But
Yeah.
it is always a messenger. I can say that about my disease. That's that experience. There were others as well. Once I was willing to sort of go through it, the other side of it, my God, like where it led me. But yeah, it's a process. So I think it's good you even say that with the Vipassana, because I've heard people say you go in, it doesn't mean it's all plain sailing. You could be dealing with all of those energies and everything going on inside of you. But they move, don't they? Isn't that the key? That they, once you allow them to be acknowledged and seen and moved, they do. That blew my mind, I have to say, because I used
Yeah.
to think I'm stuck with this for my life. I'm stuck in this emotional pain.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're experiencing that you think this is all life is like that. And people often say, oh, life is about suffering, life is about pain, because they accept that picture, that paradigm that it has to be only pain and you can't escape it and you have to struggle and this is the part of the life. And I'm not saying that there is a eternal happiness. It would never, after you do Vipassana, you would never experience anything, painful in your life. No, but it's the path that actually teaches you to stick to that happiness and to expand it. And it's not the happiness, because the happiness and love and God, those words are so vast. And if I say the word happiness, everyone would think about other different things. But you can say just contentment, just something that is that is something that gives you this a little bit calmness, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of acceptance and the gratitude that you're becoming more in harmony with your life.
Mm.
And if you experience that, and if this is kind of these leakings of energy that were happening through certain areas of your life, they're just becoming less. You're just losing more energy, because you don't give attention to those things, and you don't expand those things that are drawing your energy. Yes, you're aware of that, but even that awareness is helping you to either accept it or to transform it into something. It's all like different processes that are happening for everyone individually. But if you're giving the truthful understanding and exploration, it will show you the way how to transform it into something better, because we we are not, like, we're not just you know, uh, angels that do not experience anything bad, only good. And we're also are not just things that are suffering, but we learn to take lessons from these sufferings, and to more focus on the positivity, and to more focus on understanding the messages, and to learning something that it's not it's not like in a movie. That's something that I learned because somebody said, but something that subconsciously and sometimes comes with this message, that you notice little things. Okay, these things are kind of intuitively telling me that no, 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 it's not for you anymore, or no, 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 don't do that. It has to be stopped, because I just feel it's like when I did the Vipassana first time, and I had that very successful business in entertainment. I was a business in the parties, and for kids. I'm not saying that it was a bad thing that I had, but just I felt like I overgrew it. I just like felt that, it's not helping me to become something more in my life, something, to learn something. So I need to maybe other ways to learn about myself more. And yeah, and just I sold it and I moved to something else. So it's just something, understanding that comes, that guides you, that saying that okay, that period of your life is over, and there's another path. And sometimes people are afraid to take the path because there is no provement that, okay, you're going to be successful, just go there. No, no, you just always have to kind of playfully go and understand that these things are appearing in front of you with your choice. And if you're brave enough to take that part of trusting yourself, because you're building up a little bit more of self-awareness, a little bit more of confidence, a little bit more of the goodness inside of you, that you can handle yourself, you can handle these situations, you can actually aiming to do something good for yourself and for the others. So if it's like that, the life is starting also reflect on you and help you to build up those things. And you look back after that and you think that, okay, very good, I'm happy that I was brave enough, that I went this way, my way, that my intuition way, and now it expands, and now it helps me and it helps other people. So it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, thank you, Irina. And I love that you bring it back to, and I always found that when I go to the yoga class with you, anyone I think who guides you to listen to your own wisdom and your own voice and your own heart, I believe is your best interest at heart. I mean, the days of gurus, and yes, we can learn from people and take in information, and we ultimately, we're all on this our own little journey. It's like our own little movie within the big movie. So what's going to show up for me and what in my life will be very different than for you. So everything we're talking about here, and you've been talking about, whether it's yoga, vipassana, all of it is really about sort of coming back to that place in ourselves, which will guide us um, through life, through
Yeah.
the ups and downs. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to share?
I think it's important. The main actually thing, you don't I'm not saying that you don't need to do vipassana, you don't need to learn about yoga, you don't need to learn about spirituality, but if you have a very sincere desire to learn about yourself, to be very brave, to go inside and to see who you are and to see how people are reflecting, because it's always the situation how happens to you also. If you're saying, okay, I'm completely happy, but if you see that people around you unhappy, they are suffering, that must be something like a different way of happiness, and there is some trigger inside of you that you just suppressing and saying, no, 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 I'm happy, but inside there is something going on that you're just not recognizing. But the surrounding that shows you, environment that shows you that they're not happy, they're not resonating with you, that there is something that you must look inside and notice what is not working. So n- to
Mm,
be able to do that, to be able, you need to have this sincere desire that, yes, that I want to learn, I want to find out, and you just take those steps ahead. And if you find this inner happiness, and if you see that the people around you are happy, that is bringing this sign of that you're on the right path. Because when you're on the right path, things are more easier for you, more you're like more in the flow and more simple. And sometimes you find, not sometimes, but most of the time you find in simple things so much happiness, and this simplicity is amazing. It just teaches you every day. And in the life becomes very simple, because those things that were holding you from making this decision, or from sharing, or from showing courage, they're just dropped, they don't need you anymore. So you're basically you're becoming more free inside and outside. And you're discovering sometimes that those things that you were thinking that you lack of, that you don't have enough, let's say, love, or not enough generous, or not enough this, not enough that, that after a certain time, you just, people are saying, oh, you're so lovable, you're so generous, and you're starting to think, oh my god, am I? And then it just shows you that's like, I like this story, fairy tale, Wizard of Oz, that everybody was thinking that they don't have anything, and they spend years and years looking for that, and we are in our life, we think that we don't have it, but actually we do. And with the help of this truthfulness, with the help of um, this determination of the search to find the way, what is true, what is working, what are actually preventing me from expressing that something is hidden, because those seedlings are there, those seedlings, they want to grow, and we just need to put some water. So that water comes from those experiences that I was talking about, and you have to discover both sides of life, the material life and the spiritual life, and they come together. So to this um to the stage of understanding, you can actually come even through doing business. But what you when you improving yourself, you because it could be your natural capacity, but when you are improving yourself, you're doing better not only for you but for the others. You can
Mm.
also learn a lot of things and be aware of yourself. So the message is just to be aware. This awareness, this consciousness that consciously you are improving your life and improving life of others. That just shows you that you are progressing in your life. And if you're coming from point A to point B, and you look back and you see how happier the life became for you and for the others, then yes, then you found your way. And I wish for everyone to be able to go the way that gives you the lightness, the happiness, the easiness, and more self-confidence, understanding, and connection with the world. Because when you feel something good about yourself, that definitely you see the goodness in others, and that goodness in yourself and the others, that is the harmony and the energy and the life that we would all be happy to live and have that experience.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Irina. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. That is just as a final thing, a reminder to me that exactly that when you start to feel that sort of wanting to do that, being of service, I think is sort of an extension of that sort of journey you go on. You sort of, it's not, doesn't just become about yourself, it becomes, and that is the path, isn't, for all of us in this crazy world. If we can all, it's each of us on that journey ourselves that hopefully will make that difference to the world that we all want to live in.
Yeah, because when we know more about ourselves and more about our happy side, but or about our you uh, the pains, but then we can also see the same things in others, and we can understand their pain more because we went through our pain also. We understood and we know what it is, and we have more compassion and understanding. And this is again the point of growth for us. And yeah, hopefully, yeah, that will
And
be.
one final thing, sorry, because you said it earlier, and it just reminds me, I think it's a very important message, no more than not having gurus, but sort of trusting ourselves, is the experience, just what you said about going to India. And often what we are can perceive or believe or be told about different people, I think it's an important message. This is, I tried to do this in my own life, is the personal experience, because I feel, well, I know that any personal experience I've had one-on-one with someone, we are all of the one, we are all of the one humanity.
When you start seeing the beauty inside, when you start seeing the beauty outside, I think this is a sign that you're on the right path. And
Mm.
if you feel happy for others as much as you can feel happiness for yourself, and to see, that you found something unique in other people, and you just feel that your life becoming richer and richer. And this is also kind of the indication that your consciousness is growing, this win-win situation when you win for yourself, but you win for the others also, and you're happy for yourself, but it gives you the sense of happiness inside. Okay, the other person is also happy, that this balance in life, and yeah, that uplifts
Really?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lovely. Thank you so much, Irina. I really
Thank you.
value your time today.
Thank you.
See you for
Thank you.
yoga class later. It's
Yeah.
been a while. It's been too long. I need to
Yeah.
get back in balance.
Looking forward.
And
You're
thank you
welcome.
everyone for listening and watching. I'll put Irina's contact details below. I know you're leading tours to India at different times, so we can also, if anyone wants to connect with you and find out more, because you do them a few times a year, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, different retreats.
Anytime you can, yeah, contact me. I'll send you the information. And if there is a call in inside, then certainly the time comes when you can feel that, okay, this is the right time. And yeah, I would be happy to help you on that journey.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Celine.
And thank you
Thank you,
everyone
everyone.
for your
Yes,
time.
thank you. Bye.